with another video. I find myself a lot funnier than I think other people do, which is very funny. So someone commented on my video a couple days ago, like not the most recent video, but the one a couple videos ago or whatever. And I kind of briefly read over the comment, but it was something like wanting to expound upon the nature of values, and I guess the way in which I'm using that term. Because there is kind of a colloquial, just general definition of values. I'm gonna turn the AC on. Yeah, let's get that cranking. That is not necessarily describing values that, in a socionic sense, values that derive from the information metabolism elements, but more general values like family or tradition or orderliness or finances or religion or friendships, whatever, stuff like that. Values in that kind of way, not in I value extroverted sensation or I value introverted logic or whatever. And I was speaking of values, at least from what I remember, in a more socionic sense, and saying that there could be information like IMEs that exist in a certain culture. Like if you grew up in New York, which is very stereotypically the beta quadrant, and it's already kind of an aggressive culture in a sense, then an SLE in that culture is getting reinforced with information that he already values. And so I was speaking in regards to type being a spectrum to a certain degree, that there's environmental overlays or factors that make a type behave and kind of from the surface look different. And the key thing that I was really trying to target was that behaviorism in and of itself can't dictate type, and looking for those behaviors of someone you think they're a certain type, just by looking at that won't necessarily give you the type that they are, because a lot of people can share similar behaviors for a variety of different reasons and can have conflicting values. One type could be aggressive in a particular moment and not value extroverted sensing, or not even be strong at it, and you're just looking at a particular behavior and making that judgment. What's up, logo? And I think that's a pretty fair statement, that environment definitely plays a role into how your personality forms. And if you're in an environment that has an IME bias to it, information metabolism elements and socionics, then, and it conforms well with your type. You grow up in a culture has a strong theme of beta values, for example, and you're a beta type, then it's going to basically just feed back into the system accordingly. And what's up? And that just makes sense. And that can also be an explanation for why two people of the same type can grow up in completely different cultural backgrounds, and that be a valid explanation for why they look different, because a lot of those behaviors and mannerisms and all that kind of stuff is culturally formed and formed in your household. And so that's not the strongest determinant of type. If you're looking for that speech pattern, for example, someone could very easily mistype based upon speech pattern and cadence and intonation and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gay. Nice. All right. Solid. Next question. Never fails. Have a nice day. Hi, buddy. Hey, what's up? What's going on, guys? Thanks. I love the comment. Thanks just for... We didn't know what you were. And so you saying that just allows everyone to know where you stand. That's great. I'm doing well, man. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but I'm doing well. Except my allergies are killing me. You can probably see it. My eyes are like super puffy. Other than that, like my eyes are going crazy. Great. So, yeah, people that are just joining, talking about personality theory again, can't really get out of it. That's one thing I've noticed with people in the type community is it's very rare for, like, at some point, most people do kind of, once they, where am I from? I'm from Ohio, USA, baby. Greatest nation on earth. Changed my mind. My eyes are going crazy, then proceeds to give the light skin stare. Dude, first of all, the light skin stare is, you can't not do it. Also, it's also just bright out here, and my eyes are, I can't help it. I actually cannot help it. It's genetically, I'm just genetically predispositioned to do it. I came out mixed, and I came out of the womb doing a light skin stare. I was like, well, I guess this is my life now, so I'm gonna capitalize on it. Just playing. Oh, what else was I saying? How some people go on to bigger and better things. Once you kind of gain more responsibilities in life in general, you just can't. You just likely would not devote a lot of attention to something that, in the grand scheme of things, is not the be-all, end-all. It is very interesting. It keeps me coming back, thinking about how people are different. That's the one probably the most fascinating thing about personality type is how people process information just very differently. And it's also interesting because theoretically, if you know the language that someone is organized by, then there should be an ability to communicate more effectively, and to get what someone is trying to say. That's just a fascinating thing. It's fascinating that we're capable of doing that. That language is effective enough and consistent enough for anyone to be able to cross the barrier between minds and trade thought for thought, idea for idea, and to be able to do that in such a way that another person can metabolize and digest what you're trying to articulate and build upon that, which is just a crazy phenomena. It's like obviously it's not that crazy, and I think it's seen as not that crazy because we take it for granted, and it's just a natural thing as a sentient being to be able to communicate other creatures and animals. Obviously have their own forms of communication, and that's also kind of a weird thing, like being able to, like, if you think about when you're engaging, where you're with a dog, right? And dog psychology is also very fascinating. And it's very strange to me that some people, like, for some reason, and this is partially because my dad's just a dog person, so I kind of just gravitated towards dogs, and he would talk about dogs, so I kind of caught that. But dogs are very simple creatures for the most part, and their communicative signals are very clear. And some people, I don't know what part of the brain that is, there are certain people who they don't understand what a dog is trying to do when they do certain things. Obviously, they're not communicating verbally. They're not formulating sentences. But, for example, when I see a dog all on, like, furniture or, like, encroaching and invading people's space, my mind automatically knows the dog believes that it's the center of the world. The dog is like, I run this house now. This house is my house, and I'm showing you that it's my house by doing whatever I want when I want, right? Jumping on the couch whenever I want. I bark to go outside, and my pet human lets me outside. I do a little rebellious thing. I'll chew socks or shoes so that I get a treat. It's just funny to me that, like, some people don't have, I don't know what that is either. Again, like, dog psychology is very clear. It's very primal. It's very no nonsense. It is what it is. There's a clear hierarchy, and the dogs that are weaker in some fashion are the ones that submit, and they all recognize the alpha dog. And people will watch this, and they'll kind of just like they've heard it somewhere else, but they don't really get the operations of what's going on. They think the buck stops with them because the dog is smart enough to recognize a distinction in kinds of species. Like, oh, well, yeah, oh, this is a human being now, so I'm going to stop trying to dominate this human being. It's like, your dog does not think that. Your dog probably, first of all, probably doesn't think anything, truly. But your dog thinks that you're just another creature that it'll either kill me or it will give me, pull me into its pack and be my leader. That's really all your dog's not thinking, oh, Jim's home. I long to see Jim. It's like your dog's not, it's like, I long to eat. I long to still survive. Like, your dog is not really doing much more really than that. And yeah, I don't even know why I brought that up, but I just find that very interesting. But I bring that up because everything that exists has a way of communicating its existence, whether it communicates that indirectly by, that's a great question. Just by its very essence, if something is hard, it could, and someone would probably say that it's not really communicating, and that's probably true, but I'm kind of playing fast and loose with the term communicating here just for the point. But it's indirectly communicating what kind of thing it is, and it creates demands on how you engage with it, right? So if you bump your toe on a super hard table, the table is communicating something passively and indirectly, namely that it's a hard object, and hard objects hurt to hit, for example. And so everything is in some fashion communicating things, whether verbally or non-verbally, whether indirectly or directly. A direct form of communication is actually something speaking, for example, or declaring something, right? And it's very interesting too, because this could get real philosophical real quickly, but in one way, all objects communicate their function. And because obviously when you try to use a certain object incorrectly, it doesn't produce the right output, the right outcome. And so it's kind of indirectly communicating its purpose as a thing. If I try to, what would be an example of that? If I try to use a chair to build something with, that's probably not really going to work effectively. It's probably a little bit too big. Its dimensions don't really work well. It's more useful to sit in. And so that's also kind of interesting how the dimensions of an object kind of implicitly show you its proper use. Like if you walked up to a chair and you've never experienced chairness, just by the dimensions of the chair itself, you would start thinking about your own dimensionality and like, okay, well, what can I actually do with this chair? Well, it has a flat surface, so I could probably put things on it. I could probably put myself on it. And so you kind of derive deductively or maybe inductively, I can't remember. I always kind of get those confused. I think it'd be inductive, but you kind of derive the proper use of the object based upon how the thing is comprised. Oh, bro, can we go? But yeah, everything is communicating. That's just a very fascinating thing. Yeah. Buddy. What else was I gonna say? What else was I gonna say? I had something else cooking in there. And so, I've said this before too. I mean, once you compile all of the information about reality, and I think the IMEs are just basically a model of bits of information that exist in the universe in some real sense. And you apply that to a person who has experience and can actually fill you in on what it's like to be them from their own point of view, it kind of animates the information elements in a way that's, it kind of brings them to life. What else? What are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts? What else was I gonna say? What else was I gonna say? There was something else in there that I was gonna say, but man, I'm blanking out. What's going on here? Yeah, people are very interesting. I went from 6 people watching to 1 in like 2 seconds. They were like, bro, this dude is not saying anything. LOL. But yeah, some people stay in the type community for a long time for obviously a lot of different reasons. And then some types just dissipate. They just kind of, or evaporate is probably the better word. They just fade into existence. And they're doing things, right? People just have a better use of their time, and so they stop fiddling. I think many times there are bots in here. Yeah, I think there are. I was wanting the same thing. Oh, sorry, bro. Sorry, man. How do you get rid of them? Why are there so many of them? Like, every time someone's like, I'm from Uzbekistan, you're like, no, you're not. You're not even real, brother. This AI, man, it'll inflate your ego. You're like, I got 20 people watching. You're like, only one of those people are real. Only one of them. So, calm it down, bub. You're not as cool as you think you are. You can't do anything. Is there, like, am I appealing to non-existing entities? Is there something appealing about, like, why is that a thing? That's unfortunate. YouTube is stupid. They're just doing that to make you make more videos, because you're like, man, I'm popping off. I even had a AI subscribe to me. How do you do that? How does that work? That's crazy, bro. I got AI just like, yo, bro, I just, like, you should start a Patreon. And you're like, what? You haven't even taken a shower before, man. Like, you're not real. That's a very weird thing. It's also very funny how the media kind of dictates how our minds react to, like, new and novel current events, like AI, for example. Like, it's very weird, and it's also kind of like very fear-mongering, I've noticed. And that's with a lot of, I'm sure it happened when the internet was popping off, and when, you know, cell phones became popular and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's fascinating that our first instinct is to think negatively. And I get it, because in terms of being able to survive, being naive about technology is probably not a strong solution. Like, this is gonna be great and nothing bad is ever gonna happen. That's obviously stupid. But I just find it really, like, an AI is definitely, like, with each more advanced forms of technology, it probably would follow that the danger also increases. And equally, I would say the proper use of it and the good use of it also increases. But I just find it funny how the media kind of thinks for the masses by creating a narrative that just gets constantly talked about in the same way. It's never, what are the positives of AI? Because so many of people have been talking about AI, the natural impulse is to say, what are the risks? And that's a fair question, but I just find that very funny. It's like, if everyone were just uber positive initially about it, then the average person would naturally have a more positive disposition, which just shows how powerful the media is in kind of conforming the mind of its people. It's just like, that's very weird. And there's so many positive reinforcements to that effort built in the system that continue to incentivize negative reactions. An example of that would be, podcasting, for example, and getting a lot of views and circulation from that. And so, because there's been a positive reaction towards that way of talking about AI, then anyone who aspires to talk about AI is going to be naturally inclined to talk about it negatively, because it's more sensational and marketable naturally. Not with everything, but I definitely think bad news definitely sells more than good news, usually. Because it has obviously a more emotional effect on people. But yeah, these bots are botting crazy, brother. They're just like, we're from Africa. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You fooled me. I'm doing shout outs to bots. Dude, I definitely shouted a bot out. I know I did. The bot wants a shout out. He literally said my name is something I couldn't pronounce. I was like, it sounds unbelievable. It sounds unbelievable, but I'm going to just send it. You 100% did. Maybe me shouting them out is the way that they continue to feed into my channel. It's like, the more times that you call out a bot by name, the more the bots flood into your live streams. That's so weird. You know what kind of NPC you gotta be to give a bot a shout out? You gotta be more of an AI than the AI. If you're shouting out AI, you're lost. You got some serious things to uncover. But all right, I gotta go. Peace.